This is the January 12th, 2026 Caucus Meeting for the City of Crescent Springs. Happy New Year, everyone. First on the agenda is Mayor's Report. I just have a couple items. First is to remind everyone to get the meeting dates into April for their committee meetings. I think we're still waiting on Public Works and the Playground Committee. So if we can get those in the next few days so that we get that publicized and out to where it should be. Other item I have is, since we are in the new year, this is an election year. So I urge anyone who's taken an interest in city government, who has posted on any social media their thoughts, concerns, praises, and criticisms, to get involved, register to run for council or mayor. The more people that run, the more different ideas we have, the better off we are as a city. So you can find how to do that through Gabe Summey's office, and they'll be happy to help you down there to register to do what you need to do. That's all I have. Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mayor Doherty. I have 5 items I'd like to discuss. The first one is the Old Crescent Springs study. We have a committee meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. here in this room. The agenda topic is the traffic pattern recommendation and the next steps for the study. Second item, the active projects, RFPs that have been issued, projects not yet completed. Regular construction current RFPs is Short Amsterdam, Forest Hill to Bromley Crescent Springs Road, and Crescent Avenue Railroad parking area, front portion leading to Anderson Road. The upcoming engineering work that we have here is Norman Street above us. 3 things for that is to evaluate the overall street conditions, review the need for curb upgrades, and assess potential storm drainage improvements for this project. And the 4th item is utility update on Harris Avenue. We have a utility pole replacement request that came in by Duke Energy. It's on Harris Avenue, and it has been determined that it's deteriorating due to rot. This is something that Duke Energy does every 7 years, kind of an inspection cycle where they look at this throughout cities. The pole replacement is scheduled within the next year. Residents on Harris Avenue that this will affect will be notified directly by Duke Energy once they have scheduled this. And there will be a temporary power outage expected in maybe 2 to 4 hours during the replacement process. Last page, legislative and state level updates. The 2026 legislative session in Frankfurt. This is a shortened year. This will end on Wednesday, April 15th of this year. So it's a little bit shorter than some past years. And lastly, the Kentucky League of Cities City Day, City Night is scheduled for Wednesday, February 25th. The location is Frankfurt, and if you are interested as a council member, all you got to do is get on KLC's website, and they have information on how to sign up for that session. That is all I have. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
That's in my mind. What is that actually like over the City Day and Night all about?
It's a chance for mayors and council members to come together and actually go down to Frankfurt and walk through the different sessions that might be going on in session. It's also a great chance to connect with our local representatives that have an effect on Crescent Springs, senators, local reps, things like that.
It's a networking event that a lot of times the representatives and senators will block their calendars for the day. knowing that constituents will be down there from all the cities, so you can actually get an appointment. So it's kind of a day to go down there and have a better chance of actually having a face-to-face with somebody.
Thank you.
Any old business to bring up? The new business I have on the agenda is the Fire Authority funding discussion. Mr. Cahill has prepared the 6 months financial statements for the Fire Authority. And like to tell us where we sit and what's going on.
Thanks, Mayor. The good news is I'm not going to ask you to do anything tonight. You don't have to vote on anything. There won't be anything to vote on. I simply wanted to bring you up to date on what's going on because there are going to be some changes that have to happen this year. And I realize we're only through 6 months, so some of this is preliminary. And Bob, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see.
I know where the questions are going to come from, so I want to make sure he can see it.
Yet, but thank you.
All right. 2 reasons I'm here. Number one, I'm going to ask for I'm going to ask for something by the end of the account or the fiscal year. And number 2, the ILA stipulates that we have to have a budget to both mayors by the end of February. So I wanted to run some stuff by you guys so that you were aware of what's going on at the firehouse. If you have any questions, Sue Cassidy is here. She is the chair of the Fire Authority this year, representing Crescent Springs. And of course, the chief is here if you have operational questions. Okay? No good? All right, well, let me just go through this and then I'll show you the numbers, if that's okay. Number 1 is activity. We have 13.6% more runs in this year, 2025 versus 2024, which results in more people, more wear and tear on the equipment, and more fuel. So there's been some increases, probably because of the number of people that have moved into both Crescent Springs and Villa Hills. So we're seeing a big uptick in the number of runs. So much so that we've had to change the operations so that when somebody falls out of bed and we have to put them back in bed, we don't send an ambulance anymore. We send a fire truck so that we can keep the ambulances in service. Because the ambulance the number of calls on ambulance service has gone up dramatically.
You can pick which one you want to discuss now. I had to minimize it.
That one. Thanks. Appreciate it. As I just mentioned, the number of squad runs has gone way up. What I did here, I took the revenue that we're expecting so that as the number of runs goes up, so does our billing to insurance companies. So we're expecting an additional $130,000 to come from Life Squad billing in this fiscal year. Everything else is in there as it sits right now, so that both cities, whatever's in the budget shows up there from both cities. And by the time we're finished with this, I'll get down to what I'm asking for. The number of the salaries have gone way up. The actual compensation has not, but the overtime has. I'm sure you all know, that used to be 100% volunteer. Then that didn't work anymore because the number of volunteers has dropped way off. So what we had to do was go to part-time, and that worked for a long time until it didn't anymore, because the part-timers have to work at their regular job. These guys are all firemen. They're working somewhere else. They're working full-time somewhere else. So they're coming to us as part-time employees, but when their full-time job demands that they work overtime there, clearly they're going to do that rather than work for us. So we're losing we're not losing the part-timers, we're losing the number of hours that the part-timers can work because they're working full-time at their overtime at their full-time job. The full-time employees are working shifts at overtime rates because we can't get the part-timers anymore. The additional full-time employees are not available, and they're just not, the people aren't here. They're not in Northern Kentucky. We cannot get people in EMS and fire services like we used to. It used to be young people wanted to get into this business, but they're not doing that anymore. So there's a limited number of people. They're bidding up the expenses, the rates, and we're losing some of those people because we can't match their pay rate. So the only options we have are higher payrolls or taking equipment out of service. And I don't think anybody wants to take equipment out of service because we all know what that means. We can't do that. The other thing that's happened, by the way, if I say something that doesn't make any sense, which is entirely possible, stop me, okay? Or ask questions, because this kind of builds on itself. So I'll just keep going. The equipment maintenance, I don't know what's going on in equipment maintenance, but when we get equipment fixed, it costs a lot more to get it fixed now than it did 2 or 3 years ago. It's just a nature of the beast. There's only a few people that are in this business, and the rates are going way up on maintenance. So we have a lot more maintenance. The equipment that we have is nowhere near the end of its useful life. I mean, we've gone through this. What if we get rid of the old stuff and buy new? It just doesn't make sense, dollars and cents wise. So equipment maintenance is going up, and I anticipate that continuing. I don't see any way to stop it. So in a nutshell, that's what's causing this problem that we're currently having. There are 2 more items on here. One is the Typhoon 2016 pumper. So 2016, we bought this pumper. We went into debt to buy it, and there is a buyout at the end of it, a balloon payment, which we anticipate doing at the end of June in 2006. I will tell you that I met with both mayors, and they recommended that I meet with both finance chairs, which I have done. Finance chairs asked that we approach it this way, that we're going to pay for that, the balloon payment on that pumper in June. The other option on that is to simply extend it. We could extend it 5 more years, but they anticipate the interest rate to be somewhere between 6 to 7% at this time. Now, they don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what it would be in June when we have to renegotiate it, but it's going to be higher than the 2.3 that we have today.
So it was a 2016 pumper?
Yes, sir.
Would you explain to me about what was buyout, though, when you talk over that way? I don't seem to hear you today.
I apologize.
It's okay, it's fine.
When we signed the contract, it was a 10-year lease with a balloon payment at the end. So the balloon payment is somewhere around $120,000. So that's what we would have to pay in June to make this happen. We could pay it out, or we could simply extend that lease further, but it would be at a higher rate.
What would you recommend?
It depends on if you have enough money. I mean, if you're making 4% on it now, I would pay it off because you're going to pay 6%. And at the end of the day, I mean, we all know, there's only 2 places we can go for money. It's Villa Hills and Crescent Springs. Let's face it. So, we're trying to do whatever we can to minimize our impact on the 2 cities, and this would minimize the impact.
What's the useful life on that pumper?
20 years, chief, at least?
25.
25?
That is our newest truck, so everything else, fire equipment wise, is paid for. So the ladder truck, the rescue truck, so this is our newest truck and it'll be paid off.
How old is that ladder truck?
2007.
17? I'm assuming that is definitely the most expensive piece of equipment.
When it needs to be replaced, it'll be over $2 million.
Please?
It will be $2 million to replace it right here.
There's one other item on there. It's a big item, $248,000, and I'm sorry, yeah, 248. That is, I don't know if you've ever seen air packs when they go into a fire. They have these things on their back, look like scuba gear. They have a special mask that they wear. We had to replace all of those because they were outside of their useful life, and we couldn't send firemen into a fire with those old air packs. So we had to replace all the air packs. Usually, previously, we were able to get some kind of grant for that, but those have dried up. So FEMA is no longer doing that kind of stuff. So we had to buy those things to make sure they worked. Now, the reason it won't have a big impact this year, I have to put it in the budget. As you know, I can't spend more money than what we had budgeted at the beginning of the year. Those were supposed to come in the last fiscal year. They did not. But the money that we needed for those was in the surplus. So I just need to change the budget to take care of that. Everybody with me on that?
How many packs do we need, you're purchasing?
26.
26?
26.
So every seated position on the fire trucks, every seat has to have one of those airbags in
What's the life expectancy on those?
it. 15 years.
15 years? And all of them are done for their life now?
Yeah.
But last year's budget money, more or less, is going to take care of that expense.
It was in last year's budget. I have to amend this year because it didn't happen last fiscal year. It happened this fiscal year. It's this whole supply chain thing. I mean, we had the same problem we had a vehicle that we had to get in. It didn't get in on time, and then it took forever. And we have an ambulance that's been on order over 2 years. So some of this equipment problem is that ambulance. We can't get another one. They simply don't make them fast enough. They told us it would be 900 days. It's going to be more than that. Okay. Anyway, so are there any more questions on this? So the net effect of all these changes is $534,000. We had $334,000 in the bank at the beginning of the year. So if you guys can come up with $200,000 between the two cities, so it would be $80,000 here, $120,000 at Villa Hills. If we could come up with that, then we would have a cash surplus of $658. So in effect, the $200,000 would get us to a break even. But if you recall, we returned $205,000 earlier this year for the building, and we were thinking that would make this whole thing more palatable if we came in with $200,000. So in a nutshell, that's what we're asking for this budget.
But not tonight.
Not tonight. I'm waiting for Bob.
Well, usually I have to ask questions when they allow citizen comments. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
I
not
apologize.
gonna jump in, be out of order.
I apologize, my fault.
No problem.
I do have one real quick question.
Yes, sir.
It's been asked to me. You said you were sending the fire trucks out on like the people falling out of the bed calls. Somebody brought this to my attention. Why would we send a utility vehicle instead of, say, a $1 million fire truck? Would you send
So keep in mind, there's 2 people on each ambulance and then 3 on the engine if we're fully staffed for the day. If they're at back in Prospect Point, putting somebody back into bed and we get another call, they would have to get in the pickup truck, go back to the firehouse, get the fire engine, and make a response. If they have the engine that can put out a car fire, put out a house fire, with them right then, they put the person back in bed and go immediately to the fire. It's logistics, it makes more sense to do it that way.
I just was thinking of that $1 million fire truck going on a simple, roll-out call.
Anything else on this? I'm going to move on to 2627, which is our next budget. Thank you. Okay. I try to color code these things so it's a little easier to explain, but the blue is simply December year-to-date times 2. So it's simply a projection of what it would be if we had exactly the same things happen in January through June as happened in July through December. Typically, that's not going to help much, but I wanted to let you know where we are currently. The amended budget that I'm asking for, the green, that would be adding the 80,000 and the 120 into the budget. And like I said, the life squad billing would go up. And we tried to take you'll note that plumper It's labeled 5659. That pumper is a 0 for 26, 27, assuming that we paid it off in 25, 26. Okay? The portable equipment, that goes way down because we have already paid for the air packs, which were the expensive things. We're hoping that the ambulance, the new ambulance comes in February of 2027. So I put in there 5 months at 6 or 7%, I believe. Yeah, $350,000 at 7% for 5 years. So I'm simply amortizing the full amount of that. When we talked with both finance committee chairs, they recommended that we do it that way. And if there's some down payment to be made, we'll make that decision when the ambulance gets here, not now. Okay, and then the salaries, I've got them at 3% increase across the board. I didn't really talk about benefit expense, but when we first started this, the benefit expense was relatively low. And it's like anything else. If somebody knows that that's out there, they're going to take advantage of it, and they have, which is good. I mean, they're getting the benefits that they need and deserve. So that benefit expense has gone up since we started this thing, but it's going to continue to go up as salaries go up. And of course, payroll taxes right along with salaries. So we're looking at a new budget of right at $3 million, which is, when you work it out on a pro rata basis on our valuation, it's substantially lower than what it was 2 years ago, simply because our valuation's gone up so much in both cities. I'm not going to ask you to do anything on this tonight. I'm going to present it to the fire authority in February. That probably won't change all that much. I'm going to ask the fire authority to pass this in February, and then I'm going to submit it to both mayors by the end of February, and we will have that'll give Mr. Daly a chance to get his budget done for 26, 27 once we know what these numbers are. But I wanted you to know where we are.
Jim, why are full-time salaries less than part-time?
I'm sorry, what?
Why are full-time salaries less than part-time?
Fewer people.
There are a lot fewer people.
I thought you were having trouble keeping part-timers.
We are.
Okay. So that'll dance maybe too.
Could be. Well, I mean, at one point, we thought we were finished with full-time employees, but the more we get this kind of pushback on part-time employees, and Chief can speak to this better than I can, we may be forced to add full-time employees to make sure that we can cover all the runs. But right now, at least, I'll speak for you, Chief, that's not in the plans at this point.
So the blue column is year-to-date times 2.
Yes, sir.
The pink column or orange column is for what's your,
Proposed for 26, 27.
and what's green?
Green is 25, 26 amended budget.
Got it, thanks. I'm sorry.
Right.
Thanks.
Any other questions from council?
Just, can I get a copy of that in color? Or
I'll be happy to give you whatever you want. I can send it out.
Whatever you want.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Great. I just can't see a whole lot of what's up there in my eyes.
Tell getting older. Jim, why don't you send that to April?
Yes, sir. I think, April, you already have it.
April, you can just.
I thought I sent it to you.
council.
Thought I sent it to you Sunday or Monday.
Okay, I will forward it.
Thank you.
Get it out.
Jim, is it fair to say that if we didn't see increase in revenue to offset what are surely to be increasing expenses going forward, we would be literally tapping into our reserve to cover that increase?
Well, we're out of money.
You say we're out of money?
If we don't do that, we're gonna run out of money, yeah. We're gonna be projected $200,000 short come 6/30.
In other words, we have to.
But it feels like dipping into your retirement to pay your daily bills.
So the cash balance, July 1st was $334,000. They're gonna use it all. if they're,
I'm agreeing with you, I'm just saying, if we have to tap into a reserve to continue to fund an ever-increasing service, it's like borrowing from your personal retirement to pay your daily bills.
Historically, it's been suggested that we not keep a surplus at the fire authority, that the surplus be maintained in the two cities. If that changes, then that's fine. But right now, what I'm projecting is by the end of June, the surplus will be 0 in the fire authority.
I meant the city's reserve. So if Crescent Springs contributes to the fire authority, fire department operating expense, and we don't see an offsetting increase in revenue in the city, we would essentially be tapping into the city's reserve to cover any gap.
Well, you have seen an increase in property tax, right?
Say it again?
You've seen an increase in property tax, right?
And I'm only saying, if we didn't see
I get
an
you.
offsetting increase in revenue,
Yeah, that's probably true, yeah.
and that just feels, I mean, how many years have we been talking about the funding mechanism for this entity? I mean, it feels like it almost isn't sustainable, that we need like breakthrough solutions.
Well, there are other options,
Yeah.
but I don't think you want to, maybe you do want to go down that road, I don't know, but,
Fire district.
I'm sorry?
Fire district is an option.
Right.
What if, again, I'm the least knowledgeable to speak about it, but if we leverage levies, like some of the cities and townships in Ohio do, where they have a specific levy to fund a particular public service, police or fire, and EMS. I mean, the theory, I think, would be that if you did that, and the citizens voted to fund at that level, then the city may offset that in the property tax, for example, that would be charged. I mean, it's not, I feel like when we get presented with things like that, it's 6 of us, and you really only need 4 people to either agree or disagree with what's being proposed. And that's sort of a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the citizens at large, I mean, this is a lot of money, and I always feel like they would like to have a voice. Maybe not, but it feels like if the citizens say, yeah, we're comfortable funding at that level, then let them express that.
I don't mean to be flippant about it, but if we don't fund at this level, what is the other option? Do we take equipment out of service?
No.
You don't want to do that. I'm sure you don't want to do that.
No.
So, you know, we used to be able to count on volunteers for all
Oh,
this.
yeah, I'm with you.
And that ship has sailed. That's gone. We got, what, how many, 3 volunteers left?
There's 11, but 2 or 3 are approaching 70 years old. They're not, you know,
I think we're in violent agreement that the model to operate the fire department and staffing is no longer sustainable. I guess all I'm saying is, does it beg the question, is our funding mechanism equally unsustainable?
and I'm not aware of any levies in northern Kentucky for fire or police. I think that's an Ohio thing, but I may be wrong. The other option I think you're leaning towards is the fire district, and fire districts are capped at $2.
Right.
And you lose control of the fire department. So the county judge appoints somebody in charge of the district and the board members. And the cities lose control.
And I think that has been, over the years, we've kind of known each other and talked, it's always been on the table.
Right.
But this levy idea, seemed to crop up, at least in my head, as we talked about what else is out there that could help the 2 cities kind of manage this changing environment to where we now are potentially looking at full-time staff, monumentally expensive equipment. I mean, so, again, don't mean to get off track.
No, I understand. But is that something you want us to start looking into? Is that something the
I
city
don't
should?
feel like I'm speaking for everybody, so,
Well,
and I don't want to do that.
I just asked Mr. Baker if they were allowed, and his answer is he doesn't know. We can look into that, but the other one, if you did something like that, what if it passes in one city and not the other? Then it fails. I think it's it's a great idea to look for different funding. I have no problem with that at all. Let's let Mr. Baker do some research, and we can answer your question more intelligently.
The devil would be in the detail.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, all I'm suggesting is, what other options are there? Because I don't think anybody wants to harm the quality of service that the two cities get.
And
Understood.
I think the road that we definitely need to go down is, you compare the amount of money that we're spending compared to an Edgewood or Fort Mitchell or, even at this higher rate, we're still much lower. And Jim's got that breakdown of what it is per household and that sort of thing. Even us versus the fire districts, we're still well under the $2 threshold. So, even if we went to a fire district, what was the number, Jim?
$500,000. Well, most of them are $2 per thousand. They all get there eventually, because that's the way it works. You start out somewhere and you end up as high as you can get, and that which is $2 per thousand. That would add $500,000 to that budget. That's a lot of money. I mean, the advantage to you guys is it takes it off your invoice and puts it on the county. So,
Increase the homeowner taxes.
As far as volunteers,
Go
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead,
I was just gonna ask about volunteers. I know years back, you all used to have drives and have, signs across the buttermilk here saying, looking for volunteers. I haven't seen that as of late. I mean, are you all trying to get away from the volunteers, or?
No.
I just would think that.
So we currently have 6 volunteers in the process, but what happens is when we pay for their EMT school and we pay for their fire training, then they get hired full-time somewhere at $75,000 a year. So then they don't have time to volunteer for us anymore. So what we've done is we made anybody in the EMT school sign a contract that they're gonna give us 2 years. Eventually what happens is, because there's such a shallow pool of people to draw from, we hire our own volunteers and they become part-time. So yes, we still get some. Very rarely do they come back, and it's not like the days where they lived in Crescent Springs and Willow Hills. That pool's dried up. We tapped that out completely. So we have people that live in Florence or Fort Wright that come and stay at the firehouse as a volunteer. I mean, eventually become part-time and then eventually full-time somewhere else.
I was just curious about community drives, for Willow Hills and Crescent Spring. I mean, have y'all been pushing out there, hey, we're looking for volunteers?
I don't know if you've heard our commercial on the radio. There's a National Volunteer Fire Council that tries to get volunteer firefighters. We get probably one a month that calls and says they're interested, and then they find out how much training is involved in it, and it doesn't work out.
Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions from council? Mr. Flaherty, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. To hitchhike on what Councilman Jeff Smith said, what is your recruitment program for volunteers? I mean, I know some agencies have junior cadet programs where they partner with the high schools. For example, does anyone visit Covey Catholic or Bill Madonna or Notre Dame? These schools require the kids to get service hours. So you might be able to somehow incorporate that into like a junior cadet program. You won't get any immediate results, but maybe down the road, you might pick up some people that would volunteer.
We already have a junior cadet program. We have 3 15-year-olds in it, and right now, again, once they become 18, they're eligible for part-time somewhere, and then eventually full-time. So we've had the junior program for a long time.
Good, but they're also eligible to work for you.
Right.
Okay. The other thing is, have you contacted Gateway Community College and or Cincinnati State because they actually have EMT programs and fire science programs where maybe you could partner with them and provide for anybody interested, maybe free training or tuition reimbursement.
So currently, that's what we do, is our recruits are trained through Gateway and through the State Fire Commission. They get college credit hours for that. In turn, we give up our state training hours to pay Gateway. That's how we pay Gateway to do that. So our recruits that we send out there, they are through that same program. They're through Gateway College, through the State Fire Commission, and through St. Elizabeth.
Okay, that's great. Cincinnati State might be another option, although that's in Ohio, which probably limits it.
So the downside of using Ohio programs is they have to gain reciprocity from the state of Kentucky. So, for instance, my son took fire science and got 2,000 hours. The state of Kentucky lumped all 2,000 hours in one category, which did not make him a certified firefighter when he came out. So it's a matter of juggling numbers and that with Ohio.
Okay. Okay. The other thing is, do you have a dedicated person on the fire department to initiate programs for recruitment? Like Mr. Smith said, I rarely, and I lived in Villa Hills and Crescent Springs for 40 years, and I've rarely seen much campaigning for volunteers. I know you do sometimes, but there are a lot of community events where you could probably, basically promote volunteers and promote training for fire people. Maybe you do it, but I sure haven't seen it.
Right now, we do it all through National Volunteer Fire Council. And they've got commercials on the radio almost daily.
Well, that's good, but I think, again, this is my opinion, that it would also be beneficial at community events to have booths or a fire truck there or something that promotes interest in the local community to try to get volunteers.
Sure, we can try that again.
Bear with me here, I took a lot of notes, I have to find them. Okay, the question is, why aren't young people interested in this? Because the pay is pretty good. EMT, 100 grand starting out. Is that right?
No, it's not that high, but it's pretty high. But I don't know about you, Bob, but I run out of burning buildings, not into them. And the people that do that are special breed.
When I was young, it had started out as a firefighter, and I'm sure Mike will tell you, it was a community thing. The community pride thing just does not exist anymore. And a lot of people in the 18 to 20 year range, they work two jobs. When I started in the fire department, I had one job. I gave the time I had as a volunteer. That's how the community was back then, but that's all changed. And COVID didn't help it. People were more afraid of getting COVID than they were running into a burning building. Some of our firefighters were frankly terrified of it. You can take that home to your family. So the culture has changed. People have a different view of firefighters and police now than they did 10 years ago. And it's just not a popular thing to do anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. However, on the EMT side, I would think young people interested in medicine, that would be kind of a thing they would want to do.
And again, we've had med students with us. You maybe get 2 years out of them because they're moving on. They're moving to paramedic, med student, doctor. And then we've invested several $1,000s in their training, and then they move on.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but maybe you can build up a pipeline. I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas. Because if I were going into medical school, I would, you know, as a doctor, you see a lot of horrible things, so the EMT would kind of be interesting.
This shouldn't be a shock to you guys, because we talked about this years ago, about, there was a study done in northern Kentucky about the lack of qualified firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, that there's just not enough to replace the ones that have retired. And everybody knew this was coming, and it was, you know, the bigger cities, Fort Thomas being the top one right now, will pay $100,000 a year to come work here. Then Heber jumped on board. We'll pay $110,000. So it's, the fire departments are battling each other just to keep people in the firehouse.
Yeah, I understand that, but somehow, and I don't know the answer, but somehow it seems to me that someone has to take the initiative to try to partner with high schools, talk with the guidance counselors.
So it's being
See
done.
what motivates the kids to do that.
There are fire departments, Fort Mitchell is offering an internship to students at Beechwood right now. Part of their internship is they leave school early, they go to the firehouse, they train. But again, we've hired some people from away from Fort Mitchell that were brand new firefighter EMTs. And that's the case anywhere. As soon as they're out there in the market, somebody snatches them up. So, you know, they're not going to come back and volunteer for something they do for free. A lot of the unions frown on that. So it's...
No, I agree with that, but, you know, because that situation exists, and it's probably going to continue to exist, maybe a program needs to be initiated to try to build a pipeline. And maybe dedicating somebody in your department to be the recruiter and volunteers.
Right.
Just an idea. On the budget, Jim, I have some questions. On the life squad billings, now, I guess Mr. Mueller mentioned something is year-to-date times 2. Is that the original budget number? That doesn't add up.
No, it's not the original budget. The budget is in.
Where's the budget times 2?
That's the.
Year-to-date times 2, what column is that?
That's the blue column. Hold on. That's the blue column, year-to-date times 2.
It says year-to-date, I guess I can't read that.
That's it.
It's projected. It says projected
Projected
25,
budget.
26.
Okay, so that's the original budget.
No, that's not the original budget. The original budget is the next column.
So it's year-to-date times 2. So you don't have the year-to-date columns. I guess you can just divide by 2, right? To get the year-to-date.
Right. I can show it. It's
That's
just
all right, you
hidden.
don't need to do
All right.
that. If I can divide it by 2, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, in looking at your proposed budget for 2026, 2027, your revenue, if I'm reading this right, is $392,713. This is under all other items, and your expenses are $938,943. What are the other items?
This is the expanded one, Bob. I could send that to you if you want me to, but this is the detail for everything that's in there. Okay, I just wanted to combine it so it wasn't so confusing, but there's a lot of line items, and I'm just trying to make it easy.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were. I just wanted to know what they were.
I can send this to you.
Okay, that would be great, thank you. And the fire equipment portable packs, I guess you project them to be $472,000, but they actually cost $248,000. Is that right?
Well, the projected is just what we spent times 2, and that's not going to happen, obviously, because we spend it early in the fiscal year. But the number that we're going to use is the budget number.
Okay, so it was a lot less than what you
Yes, sir.
expected.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, and then I think you touched on why the full-time salaries are up and the part-time salaries are up, so. Okay, is there a recruitment program for part-time firemen? It seems to me what I hear you saying is all the full-time people at other departments come and basically get more income by being a part-time fireman too. Is there any way you can recruit part-time people?
We do. So, like I said, a lot of them we hire from within. So right now we've just graduated 3 MTs. They're finishing up their fire training and they'll be hired as part-time.
So do you have enough part-time people?
No. Nope. Northern Kentucky doesn't have enough full-time or part-time or volunteers.
So what is the recruitment program other than internal?
So we can go to the fire recruit class, and when I go to graduation, when our 3 graduate, there's 18 other kids in the room. We'll talk to them then. And there's a line of chiefs there just waiting to get their hands on anybody that's graduated. It's a vicious cycle.
Okay.
And obviously, whoever pays the most gets the pick of the litter.
Well, money's important, but there are other things too, besides money. Hopefully, the management is good, and they like working for you and working for your other management people. Because money's nice, but it's not always the main thing. That's all I have.
Anything else, Mr. Cahill? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys, appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other residents' comments on anything?
I was gonna just, back to Mr. Flaherty's point, I don't know if it would help if we both Bill Hills and Crescent Springs put something on our website, we're looking for volunteers, maybe put something on the sign out there, I don't know. Just suggestions.
Yeah, we have a expert in social media now working for the city. Maybe she can come up with some type of promotion for EMTs and firefighters in the community.
I'll see what I can do. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? So moved.